None of us wants to be here today. And again, none of us would miss being here for the world. And in that paradox, it's the nature of such an event. We are marking the end of a life, and we are remembering the life of a person who meant so much to us. And essentially, those are, I think, our two jobs here today, to mark that end and to remember that person. So we will start in that with people who of all equals are most people. I can't say any, but who are the most important people to help us start that process, even in my life.
Thank you all so much for being here with us. Those who traveled far, our neighbors, old friends, Alex's friends, friends from my work soon, family, all of you. So many people have done such kindness over this past month, sending us deeply sympathetic messages of condolence, bringing us wonderful food, company, and thoughtfulness. We have been overwhelmed. And we want to thank Joanna, Corey, Anna, and Alex Cooper, who, with your irrepressible spirits, have given us a fuller sense of Alex as he lived with you and his friends. We also want to thank we want the rest of the gathering to know how much all of you for have contributed to putting together this memorial, scoping venues, arranging for flowers, sending slideshows and tracks of music, analysis, and favorites. Thank you. One evening, while driving home when Alex was about 2, a moon swung into view. I slowed the car to put it out. Alex, hearing from his car seat, asked, "Where's my other moon? Where's my other moon?" I was briefly puzzled until I realized that the pendant half moon dangling in front of us was entirely different from the full or crescent moon we might have pointed out earlier. Alex brought that same sort of precision to his unique collaborative word.
Alex is always so interesting. I see Richard reaction to the next thing. The very beginning of his life, and I mean the very beginning, the moment he was born, he had a reaction to the experience that seemed the most sensible and natural that any just-born human could have. He first gave a perfunctory cry of eagerness, and then, like a wind old clock, started squinting, looking around in the most serious and curious way, as if he was simply trying to figure out what had happened. His philosophical way of looking at things escaped. We were eating Thanksgiving dinner when Alex had just turned 2. Hume was there, as was Cy. And I saw a huge loaf of bread on the table. I said, "That loaf of bread is humongous." I was thinking, Alex said, "No, it's Cy mom." Very soon after that, I said we had to do something before we did something else. He typed up 6. When I mentioned June, I just said 3 now. One day I remarked it was cold and windy. I asked him if it was cold, and he said, "No, I'm windy." One day he was talking about a younger boy in daycare. He said, "Jeremy is learning to shake hands, but he can't really do it. He can only do stuff." Which we effectively stuff down in the real. That was an interesting other gigantic part of Alex was his empathy. When Alex was 3, he started preschool. He adjusted quite easily. However, a little girl named Olive had just started preschool as well. She had terrible separation anxiety. She hadn't been able to adjust to the school because of order. Had to stay home. I found out later from her mother that what made her able to adjust well this year was Alex. He saw how upset she was and took it upon himself to take her hand and sit next to her on the bus and to bring books to her to look at the pictures together. It worked. One day, as he was going to preschool, he said out to the world, "Love is so sweet and sometimes it makes me sad."
Alex was a perfect child. Almost the instant he learned to read, the bookcase filled with adventure stories. At age 8, Alex wrote his own story about a lost puppy that faithfully replicated the cliffhanger chapters of his reading, each carol neatly resolved in the next chapter. I think Alex was enchanted by the singing parties Myra organized at Christmas and for Mozart and Schubert's birthdays, where Alex helped decorate the cookies and cakes and the house filled with musicians and music.
Alex made imperfect marzipan figures to illustrate some of the Schubert songs that have tried for trout and shepherd up rock made from amazing marzipan sculptures.
Alex and I climbed a lot of mountains, eventually scaling all 48 peaks above 4,000 feet in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. He was determined from the start, never complaining even at age 7 or 8. Alex developed a keen sense of symbolism, decoding movies for us, sometimes half as yes, that we might not have realized particularly contained symbols.
Yes, he's always good at analyzing works of art and understanding symbols. Our friend Jan and I were watching Detective Creek of Fire. I don't know if you remember that movie a long time ago. A film with almost no dialogue and a great deal of symbolism. Jan and I had no idea what was going on in it. Right near the end, Alex walked in, took one look, and said, "One wall is blue, the other is yellow, which makes green, green papaya."
Alex made schoolwork look easy, soaring effortlessly through the Brown School in Shady Hill. Then, Alex fell into the crowd set on a particularly self-destructive form of teenage rebellion, notably smoking extravagant quantities of weed. Some years later, Alex said he joined this group out of loneliness, weed and the plants with the cost of entry, quite an exorbitant cost. Once, I saw Alex ride out in a car full of sullen young toughs, all slouched down to the doorsteps. Shortly afterward, Myra orchestrated an early morning intervention to whisk Alex away to a wilderness street camp in the Smoky Mountains. After Seuss, wilderness camp, Alex spent a couple of years at the high school that afternoon. Then he went off to college. By the spring of his first year, he was tried LSD and could no longer function. He had to return home. The psychiatrist saw him back in Boston for firing the signs and warnings based on an incorrect diagnosis that we should prepare ourselves to lose Alex to schizophrenia. I was disbelieved. "What do you mean? I can see him sitting right there," I thought. It turned out that Alex was suffering from depression and drug-induced psychosis. Real life was more difficult to navigate than the chapters of adventure books. To his everlasting credit, Alex became a self-taught web developer, found exceptional housemates to share apartments in Holston, Virginia, and he had several drop-dead gorgeous and smart girlfriends. Things were looking up. Alex's difficulties at the University of Miami seemed to have been drug-induced and temporary. Both my parents were poets. Over the last few years, Alex found particular resonance with my father's poetry, much of which grapples with profound depression. Alex pointed out a poem called What Sun is Burning that we read closely together. It starts, the suffering grows like a tree. On its towering leaves, light could kindle forever, but I cannot lift my eyes to regard them. Alex tried different things to feel better. Exercise, different diets, veganism, keeping journals, all with a burst of enthusiasm. But whatever improvements he achieved always proved ephemeral. That said, Alex got in a lot of living. He became quite a proficient web developer, confident and recognized in that realm. And he was constantly off to concerts or on road trips with friends to distant music festivals or on high-spirit camping trips in the mountains or on the shore.
I receive seriously random texts on a regular basis. Pretty recently, he texted me a picture of a sheep he drawn on his phone. You'll see it in the slideshow. A few weeks later, he came over and I saw an enormous thing in his backpack. Sorry. He took out this. He had sent his picture to a place to make stuffed animals of sorts. And he wanted to make this for me. And I think those people have never seen a sheep before. And from the age of 13 to the age of 14, he grew 6 inches. One afternoon, he was cooking in the stove, and I was standing in the bathroom. I said, "Wow, you're so tall." He turned around and gave me a big hug and said, "I love you, Mom." He knew that I was a big name as growing up.
Alex read widely classical and contemporary fiction. He wrote stories and poems. Alex's final year. Alex complained that the habit of depressant he had been on for several years was beginning to make him feel numb to the world. Because he was so depressed, he apparently grasped at the idea that microdosing LSD might offer a plausible alternative. With Alex's history of LSD-induced psychosis, this was a colossally bad idea. Alex lost his norms. Quit his job. His roommates, Joanna and Tori, did their best to help. Tori performed a heroic service, basically sitting with Alex on the couch in their apartment for the better part of 6 months, trying his best to keep Alex on an even keel. Myra and I had no idea the extent of Alex's trouble at this point. One weekend, Joanna and Tori were away, and Alex apparently decided to take a megadose of LSD. This precipitated a severe crisis. Alex wrote to me, "I'm deeply invested in the distrust of the flow of things. Plus, for some reason, I hate being around people under 80% brain juice. I can never think of anything to say, and listening to them talk to each other is grating, which is hard to accept as it's not a life circumstance, or an unending horror that destroys all my relationships, which is probably the root cause of all my suffering. I guess I have to put my trust in this fundamental lifelong trait that somehow spontaneously change if I do enough sit-ups, and then when it doesn't change, put my faith in whatever else I have to try, drinking mushroom tea or taking low-lying growth hormone, until when I've completely given up hope, life graciously awards me a functioning brain for 5 years before I develop off-the-charts dementia." Alex vowed not to try more hallucinogenics. After recovering for a couple of months, we decided to strike out to the West Coast, hoping for a fresh start. Just after Labor Day, we drove across the country, ending up in the Bay Area. He was uncertain whether he wanted to continue to do web development. He He seemed anxious to try something that offered more direct way to help other people. He said he couldn't make it home for Thanksgiving, but that he would come for Christmas. He called during Thanksgiving dinner and spoke to each person seated around the table. He said he missed us. It seemed he was looking forward to his visit over Christmas. He made plans to see numerous friends during the week he would be here.
I want to say a few words about depression. I think it's often hard to understand what depression is and how we feel different experiences, and there are different types. Some people think it's always caused by unfortunate environmental factors, like childhood neglect at the end of a profound relationship. This can be the case, but depression is a different illness, difficult to treat, physical illness. It is physical illness too. No one causes it to blame, just as no one causes an illness in another person. It can be very hard to understand why such a person suffers from it. Alex recently told me he had depression all his life from childhood on. I didn't really know that. He had treatment. I didn't like his life medications without taking it. So he continued to have depression, much if not all of the time. I didn't put up the daily cycle. But he said he always went to negotiating with the world. Had a tremendous amount of pain, and he wanted to stop.
And then, instead of driving to the airport on home for Christmas, he drove north a few hours and parked near a trailhead in Mendocino National Forest. It would have been silent. It would have been silent over that forest that evening as a crescent moon slipped into the Pacific.
He was our beautiful boy, meek, sensitive, happy, smart, talented. What? All of a sudden, he could draw and write and take basic photographs in the world, and hilarious. He brought us serendipitous joy, over that, and profound understanding. My greatest joy is that everyone in me remembers me.
We'll now have a series of 3 remembrances by friends of Alex. First is Alex Tober, you can see the program, and then Joanna Gamble, and then Chirico, and then Dave Chastain. So we all just please come up, and then I'll come back up again after the 3 recordings go.
My name's Alex Tober. I've met some of you and others I haven't. I'm pained by the circumstances in which we've all come together, but I'm so grateful to be in this room with all of you. Excuse me. As I'm sure many of you were, I was so in awe of Alex's intelligence and sense of humor when I first met him. That awe remained through the 15 years that I knew him and loved him, and I felt privileged whenever I had his time and attention. When we dated, I called him my sweet baboo, like Sally Putney and Linus in the Peanuts comics, because he'd be hard at work and trying to concentrate on something brilliant, and I'd just be there with hearts in my eyes saying, "Isn't he the greatest?" and knowing I was lucky to be there. While it was never his intention to intimidate, I still felt the need to keep up with him, and as a result, it made me better every time I saw him. Now, he was a total dork and occasional idiot, and I reminded him whenever I could, but boy, I still always wanted to impress him. So I mean it when I say I really hope he would have appreciated this. Here is a fairy tale I wrote inspired by the life of our friend. Once upon a time, there was a land where it was always summer. And in this land, there was a great kingdom. And in this kingdom, there was a young man. This boy was handsome, devastatingly smart, and wanted nothing more than to attend the kingdom's yearly ball. It was a grand affair that he had dreamed about every night of his life, but he had never had the good fortune of receiving an invitation. One morning, after he had another particularly vivid dream about the ball, he decided this would be the year he would find a way to attend. The party was a month away, and he needed a plan. While out and about in the marketplace, he overheard a rumor. The court jester had recently quit. Perfect. This was it. He would work on his skills and convince the king and queen that he should be the new jester, and he would get to attend the ball at last. Much to his surprise, he was a natural. He impressed the court and made them laugh until they cried. He was hired. He was in. The night of the ball came and went. Oh, he was a sight to be seen. He made all the attendees so joyous, but he still wasn't satisfied. This wasn't the experience he had dreamed about all of those years. He needed to attend the ball not as an employee, but as a guest. So he gratefully returned the belled hat and the curl-toed shoes and got to work. He would not sleep a wink that year until he was certain he had met his goal. He stayed up for 200 days and 200 nights, making himself the perfect party guest. Socializing with townfolk, learning the popular dances and anecdotes, buying the most fashionable clothing. And just when he thought he may collapse from exhaustion, a knock came at his door. The king and queen request your attendance. He was so tired but so thrilled that he couldn't rest now. There was so much more that had to be done. He continued to improve himself and be exactly the person he had always imagined would attend such elaborate celebrations and stayed up for over 100 more days. A year of work and no sleep had come and gone, and the big night was finally upon him. He gave himself one final once-over in the mirror and, satisfied with where he was at, left for the ball. And what a ball it was. Never had someone been so loved at any party before or since. He danced with every woman, tried every bite on the buffet table, sat in with the band. It was everything he had ever wanted, and he couldn't have been happier. Eventually, the reverie began to quiet. As the sun began to rise and filled the ballroom, he took a moment to stop and to look around. Torn dresses, bloodshot eyes, spilled wine on fine linens. No matter. The party wasn't over. He would keep celebrating. But as he tried to go back into the fray, people began to decline his invites to dance as they were winding down. It was then that he noticed how the food from the buffet had turned his stomach and how impossibly tired he was. But he wasn't ready for the ball to end. As other attendees began to say their goodbyes and shuffle out into the world, he grabbed the young woman by the arm. "Where are you going? As long as we are all together, we can continue to dance and laugh and enjoy this ball." She laughed and said, "But it is morning. This was fun, but we must all return to our lives and go to work. Aren't you coming with us?" The handsome and devastatingly smart young man considered this. His head ached from a year's missed sleep, and he thought about how wonderful it would be to doze. In fact, maybe more wonderful than the ball had been. He replied, "You go on ahead. This was everything I ever could have hoped. I just thought it would be longer. But I realize now that I am tired, and I think I need to rest." He said goodnight and went back home to crawl into his big soft bed that had been neglected for so long. He began to drift off to dream a dream he had dreamt many times before, enjoying the grand ball, one that never ended. And the townsfolk even now still claim that he must have known something that they didn't. For on this day, as they all went off to work outside, a blanket of snow fell for the first time in the great kingdom in the land where it was always summer. And as it did, the young man slept, warm and in utter bliss.
some of Alex's writing with you all in a moment, but first I'd like to talk about Alex's influence in my life. I met Alex in the summer of 2012 when Anna introduced us. We spent the whole night arguing about whether dolphins can fall among humans and speculating about Juggalo music festivals. Alex's wild imagination and surreal sense of humor were magnetic. I knew instantly that I had just met a kindred spirit. Soon after we met, Alex started popping up in my email inbox each day with a new music video or bizarre link that he'd scrounged from some hidden corner of the internet. Every day, he had a new surprise. Our friendship really blossomed in G-Chat, where we would talk to each other all day instead of grinding away at our menial coding jobs. We talked about our visions for a utopian future, funny stories from our lives, art we liked, weird dreams we had the night before. We bonded over being extremely late to work every day and over being terrible and lazy at those menial coding jobs. We planned weekend adventures camping in New Hampshire with our newly merged group of friends. And we met up for Wednesday night shows in Boston that we both deeply regretted Thursday morning at our desks. I started to rely on these chats to get me through the day, and I relied on Alex to help me think through my next major life moves. In 2014, I finally agreed to move and join him in Cambridge, even though I was scared being an adult, I was barely making over minimum wage, and I was afraid that I wouldn't get a good enough job to pay the rent. "You're gonna be fine," he said, "I'll help you." He was so confident in me that I believed him. Alex taught me what to say to recruiters and pretended to be my coworker for reference checks. Sure enough, he was right, and I landed my first real job. We paid the rent together in Cambridge for 3 years. Living with Alex wasn't always easy, but my memories of those years are dominated by laughter, novelty, parties, and friends. I couldn't believe I had met someone who was on my wavelength, who could really understand me. He easily kept pace with my racing thoughts. He saw meaning in all of my nonsense observations. He was able to digest my words and reflect them back at me, new and vibrant and compelling. Of course, as time went on, I realized that I don't even come close to Alex's level of self-awareness and self-expression. He was on a completely different plane, and he held himself to an impossibly high creative standard. Ideas flowed endlessly out of him. He was always up to something, he was always into something, and he churned out story after poem, after video, after sketch. His unique style is alive in everything he created. Writing and media were a big part of Alex's life and at the root of many of his interactions with friends, family, and coworkers. Alex left digital footprints everywhere that ranged from thought-provoking, hard-to-grasp concepts to hilarious jokes and anecdotes. We'd like to share a selection of some of Alex's writing by starting with a narrative.
Dear Oscar, third grade is great. You should come visit our class sometime. We can visit the Gibbons. There is a Gibbons exhibit at the zoo. Do you like Gibbons? Your friend Alfred.
Dear Alfred, so happy to hear you're doing well. Speaking of well, my own will tried. My family is dead. I am just kidding. Not all Africans need water. We are doing okay. Well, I am. My family did die, however, from AIDS. Dear pen pal, Oscar.
Dear Oscar, I'm sorry to hear about your family. Enclose her some pencils and notepad paper. Do you have a crush on anyone from my class? Sincerely, Alfred.
Dear Alfred, thank you for the supplies. I used them to copy all the books of windmills from the library. Asked your question, I saw a picture of Susie. She seems right. I'm kidding you. What a scrawny beggar bird. Ha ha ha. The bandits killed all our fruit women. Please send citrus. Your pen pal, Oscar.
Dear Oscar, ha 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 ha. I like Clara. I have kissed her as well as Amy and Sarah. Also, your roommate, VP, is pretty. I would like to kiss her. As to your question, I am told I did not send perishables. I did, however, send Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I am told to contribute your food condoms. Make sure to keep the holographics. Yours, Alfred.
Dear Alfred, if I hear you once more talking about Unage, I will hide my ring. She is mine. She is beautiful, isn't she? On long summer nights, I wade out to my lake and gaze toward her cottage. Still dawns, I can smell her younger ripen. Don't tell anyone or I will slice you. Your pen pal, Oscar.
Dear Oscar, my friend says I can switch pen pals.
Dear Alfred, 1,000 songs of sorry to you, Alfred. After my parents' death, things have been hard. I was able to sell the Yu-Gi-Oh cards and purchase a home for both myself and my sister, whom I paid to have moved from the den pile. Also, guard dogs, a military escort, etc. I am utmost sorry I was short of you. You are a very kind colonial ghost. Your pen pal, Oscar.
Dear Oscar, I'm glad to hear your sister has come out alive. Get some gloves and a raincoat for handling her blood. Everyone was more cards. I accept your apology. Best, Alfred.
Dear Alfred, you and your turn-based card system have struck again. I have put my sister through an accelerated medical school. I have hired a militia which destroyed the local bandits. I have fought their freedom and employed them at my windmill factory. We are making many windmills to bring electricity to our village and selling them to others. Our economy is growing. I have paid a dowry for Unage and married her. Things are happening very fast. Unage is pregnant with twins. I will have a whole family again. I have you to thank. You're a great man, Alfred. Your pen pal, Oscar.
Dear Oscar, I'm happy for you and your zombie sister. I have to tell you a secret. I did not kiss Edie or Sarah or anyone. I am afraid to kiss Clara, even though I love her. I'm also afraid of kittens. I need your help. How do you kiss a girl? Sincerely, Alfred.
Dear Alfred, first, you walk quietly to her. Look at her eyes. Find them in the go-go, flowers in them. Taste her sweetness in the air, politely, like the first sip of a cherry. And give thanks to the mother spirit Neko for her beauty. It is only then that you are ready to embrace her. Reach out your hands, wait for her to hold it, and grip her hand firm like a on-go-go nut when your father chops it. It is only then that she is ready to embrace you. Now, speak to her, low and firm like a sow. Your hair is the rich, dark plume of the crow. Your skin is the rolled-out paste of the coffee bean. Your lips are the nectar of the honeysuckle. Your breath is the wind from the lake coming in summer. And move toward her until your head is 10 centimeters from hers. And if she remains still or draws closer, touch your lips to hers with a gentle firmness for 5 to 10 counts. Once, pull back, trade the flames in your eyes, touch your lips to hers again, then lightly squeeze her bottom above her hip. She will be yours forever. Your pen pal, Oscar.
Dear Oscar, it worked. We are now dating. Here is a trial of us kissing. Oscar, you are a great man. Thank you. Love, Alfred.
Dear Alfred, that is great news. A given bit my foot off. Please send some holographics. Your pen pal, Oscar.
More of Alex's humor and wit was shown through his tweets and Facebook posts. He cranked out funny one-liners in an effort to procure likes and faves from his friends. Here are a few of our favorites.
Where does a horse go when he breaks his leg during a race? The hospital. JK, it's the horde.
I pay over $1,000 for an app that tells me when I smell bad.
We've got candied carrots, marshmallow sweet potatoes. Oh, we put a Snickers in a turnip.
Sometimes I get paranoid that everything's an acrostic and I haven't been checking.
Being super late to work feels so wordlessly incredible. No more hiding, just freedom and tardiness.
Make 70-minute loop of mom saying, don't eat too much hummus, burn a CD, goes to park. Do you like hip hop?
Sometimes I'm walking down the street in the rain, and I remember I'm a bag of blood held in my skin.
Used a pen to dislodge a gummy vitamin from its bottle and thought about my primate ancestors.
This one just says, Amanda Bynes seems absolutely fine.
Has anyone ever seen a spider throw up?
Idea, full body diaper.
moment is still fresh in my mind. It was a fateful evening, though, as my life was forever changed. He came into my life the only way I could assume he came into others' lives. A quinoa and sweet potato-filled goofy Doritos rolling with endless jokes, terrible food combinations, and never-ending ability to have the deepest, purest, most honest conversations. The night I met him, I actually thought, what the heck? But his unapologetic stance and view on the world was addictive. And then one day, almost without notice, I woke up and he was my best friend. He just fit. He was my partner in crime and just about anything. Movie on Horizon Tuesday? Sure. Stay for 2 nights straight to a road trip down to New Orleans? You got it. Music concerts, bookstores, adventures in culinary cuisine, camping trips, art exhibitions, sun-drenched weekends, spent in his beloved hammock. He was there with Peloton. Alex was steadfast and true to his friendships, thoughtful, giving, affectionate, always looking out for others. He was always rooting for you, always encouraging. Few or eloquent words, however, been spoken. If you marry a jerk, I'm gonna be so pissed. You must hope me. Very out of the blue, driving around Cleveland one sunny afternoon. I looked at you where I said. I was always in awe of Alex. How could someone so goofy be so graceful? Shaking his butt to front grade jumpsuit on full blast, hippie sweatpants, face mask, all over in coat, his hand bun bobbing to the beat. Man, oh man, was I jealous of that air. He was cheeky and shameless in his humor. Last year, Alex and I had a quiet night in for New Year's. Indian food, champagne, and a good movie. Let's watch the ball drop just before midnight, I said. I must have dozed off at one point because he woke me up at 12:01, looked me straight in the eye and said, haha, you missed it. It was so funny, I didn't even care. His authenticity always drew me in. His sharp wit and mind-boggling intelligence kept me occupied for hours. Alex's modesty would never let me tell him so. I looked up to him, never thought twice about taking his advice, and was the person I turned to when I needed anything. His unwavering support meant the world to me, getting me through the darkest, most difficult part of my life. He held me when I cried and was patient when I couldn't be. He was never judging, always calm, always warm. His love was purely unconditional. Alex felt close even when he was far. I still can't imagine, I still can't believe I had the privilege of being his friend. I'll miss you forever, Alex Vance. You were an original, a saint, and the greatest dude that ever lived.
The night I met Alex, I cycled through album after album in a futile search for music he hadn't heard before. I could not fathom how one person's taste in music could be so encyclopedic. I eventually started playing Ulrich Schnauz's Faraway Trains Passing By, an album I had been championing for weeks with very little interest from friends. Alex looked over at me wide-eyed, asked, "You like Ulrich Schnauz?" And it appeared certain that he would factor into my life as a good friend. Soon after we started living together in Cambridge, I landed a job at Friday. He was there for all of the creative doldrums, and he celebrated along with me every time something was published. I trusted his judgment so entirely that he saw early drafts of nearly everything I wrote. I subjected him to wave after wave of terrible jokes to find a few that had likes, and his patience for me in this bizarre process never wavered. I have no doubt that the small successes I had in this field were largely attributable to the presence of such a creative force in my life. Whenever I discovered a new sketch on YouTube, the share volume effectively amounted to a cent to Alex button. But I should say that the safe threshold for view counts at which you have already seen the video was about 10,000. My last few messages with Alex are back and forth about Valera's 2066 and Dennis Johnson's short stories. Before I met Alex, I had never felt so much resonance with someone's artistic sensibilities. Much of my early 20s was shaped by the time I spent with Alex. I lived with him for 3 years, and every week was an entirely novel experience. A set of mannequin legs would appear in my living room, origin unknown, and And by way of explanation, Alex would say, oh, American Apparel is throwing them out. Some Saturdays became Spanish Saturdays when Alex would refuse to speak to me unless I addressed him in Spanish. Neither of us spoke Spanish at even a conversational level. He had an intense curiosity about the world and would dive deeply into any subject that captured his attention. One week he downloaded a vocal loop machine on his phone, just as a lark, and was recording music within a week. He weaved in and out of creative projects ranging from short stories to playlist creation to poetry to screenplays, never faltering and always producing interesting work. And it was interesting to me being surrounded by so many people who were doing this professionally and realizing that Alex was managing to do this as a side project almost to equal esteem. He was funny and creatively fearless, which led to him breaking up into freestyle raps a cappella, brought on by nothing but a passing impulse. So many people from that period of my life were brought into it by Alex, who would approach strangers with a disarming familiarity and enthusiasm. When he had energy and was himself, he had enough charisma to thrive in a group at any venue. On more than one occasion, if we reached an impasse in some debate, he would loop a nearby stranger into the conversation to get their input. Friends I introduced to Alex would often ask about him months later, even if they had only encountered him a single time, because he made such a distinct impression upon people he encountered. He was such a singular force. Alex has left me with an enthusiasm for meeting new people, a deeper appreciation for original and creative work, and many close friends I would not have otherwise met. And so, while I feel this loss tremendously, I am also immensely grateful. Goodbye, Alex. Thank you for everything.
I wish we had time for more of those stories, things that he wrote, and really, they're just amazing. We do have time, and know that everyone in here has memories. We have time for many of you to come up and share those with us, those of you who would like to do so. And how this will work is you're welcome to come up here, but there is also a roving microphone if that is a bit easier or more comfortable for you. And just raise your hand and come up here. And we have, let's see. So we do ask that you try to keep it to a minute or so, which is, I know, very short. We really don't have more than about an hour for this phase, and that's what we have. But I want to make everyone feel welcome to contribute.
Piece that she wanted to have read for Alex. It says, to Myra, Hugh, and Alex's many good friends. Myra and I have a cousin, Fran, who loved Alexander and sends her condolences to everyone here. Should we note that this is Alex's aunt. I was very honored to have been Alex's aunt. He was a special person, as we all know. And the first time I saw Alex's picture on the day he was born, with his loving parents looking at him, I was in love. When I first saw him at 5 months old, I was even more deeply in love with my nephew. To be the most beautiful baby ever born. As he grew, my sister Myra told me anecdotes about Alex, about the cute things he said and did. I was enchanted by this smart child who was witty, who told puns at the age of 3, who always asked the best questions, and wanted Good answers. Everything he said was brilliant to me. I was delighted when in grammar school he outsmarted me on some puzzles about logic. My sister regularly sent me photos of Alex, and as he grew each year, he was even more adorable, a word he adored. At a certain age, by adorable he was. His birthday photos and his Halloween costumes made me smile and gave me joy. His smiling faces adorns my apartment. I saw him only a few times a year due to the distance between our cities. As he got older, we emailed each other or talked on the phone or had discussions about he and his parents reached New York. His remarks were interesting, sometimes philosophical, sometimes political, and sometimes just darn funny. We talked about books, movies, comedy, philosophy, and politics. I admired his interest in so many things and his fighting wit. I have beautiful memories of him from afar and from our interactions. Alex was a humanitarian, someone who just wanted the world to be a better place with equality and social justice for all people. He was strongly anti-racist and against all forms of bigotry. He cared deeply about animals, humanity, and the sanctity of the planet. The last time I talked to him was on his birthday, November 10th. Alexander will continue to live in my heart and the hearts of all of his friends and family members, and a very good friend who loved him so much. I will miss him, and I will always remember Alex with great love. I will always cherish him and the memories of him.
As the mother of one of Alex's close friends, I just wanted to, because I believe he's here today, thank him for all of the times that he made my daughter laugh and all of the understanding that he showed her. And I wrote a very quick poem here for Alex. Thank you, Alex. Young man, gentle man, with kind eyes, prone to hilarity, quirky in the extreme, lacking vanity, thinking deeply, treading lightly, told of his middle-aged female fan club.
Hi, my name is Ross. I met Alex the same night Joanna met Alex, and in my news feed this week there was a story about NASA scientists studying, teaching dolphins English and giving them LSD, and I couldn't help but think that Alex is still with us. But meeting Alex in Cape Ann, and we had a lot of fun times. I just thought of one of my favorite poets, John Masefield, and I thought I'd cite Sea Fever. I must go back to the seas again, to the lonely sea and sky, and all I ask for is a tall ship and a star to steer goodbye. And the wheels kick, and the wind's song, and the white sails shake, and the gray mist on the sea's face, and the gray dawn breaking. I must go down to the seas again. The call of the running tide is a wild call and a clear call that cannot be denied. But all I ask for is a windy day with white clouds flying, and the flung spray and the blown plume and seagulls crying. I must go down to the seas again, to the vagrant gypsy life, to the gull's way and the whale's way, the winds with a whetted knife. And all I ask for is a merry yarn from a laughing fellow rover, and a quiet sleep and a sweet dream of long trips over.
These are thoughts from a friend of Alex's, Alex Vance, that she wanted shared today. Alex was the first friend I made in high school. At a time when social anxiety was hitting me hard and my efforts to fit in felt to miss the mark, there was Alex. His acceptance was pure and infectious. The confidence his friendship built in me is not easily described. He made me a better person. I'm sure anyone who knew him knows exactly what I mean. We grew apart after freshman year when he went to another school. But for whatever random cosmic reason, we became friends again years later. We went through a tough winter together, and it meant everything to me that he was there, and that I could be there for him in return. Last spring was the last time I saw him. Over dinner, I shared an idea for a creative project I'd been mulling. I'd been afraid to tell anyone, nervous the idea would slip out of my fingers. But Alex, with all of his wild, wacky inspiration and intense sincerity, he was to be trusted. His encouragement that day meant everything. Later, he'd be the first person to read any of it, and to this day is the only person to give me notes on it. I'm going to finish it for him, and I'm going to miss him every minute I'm working on it. I'll miss him when I'm doing other things too.
I have had the honor of being Alex's dog mother, a reworking of godmother that Margaret and Hugh came up with after he was born. Alex, of course, turned this into dogma, and in texts and conversations, we also often refer to each other as dogma and dog. I met Margaret and he was a beautiful boy when he was less than 24 hours old. Spent a lot of time together when he was young. Impromptu babysitting, an occasional sleepover, Halloween festivities. Actually, the first time Alex dressed up for Halloween, he didn't quite get it. He was a little shy of his second birthday, and Myra had a pumpkin costume for him, and we dressed him in it, and he looked at himself in the mirror and said, I have nothing, I have nothing. He ran around the house just shooting each other. For years, our annual Valentine making event was required, surrounded by stickers and cardstock. Albums were put together creations, usually involving a lot of cats. The creations were both artistic and hilarious. I knew it was over, however, when it was about 8 and he announced, this Valentine's going to have airplanes on it and no kitties. Kitties and airplanes? I don't think so. I then brought up the fact that the first flight had taken place at Kitty Hawk that month. I saw the adult Alex less frequently, but he graciously made times at lunches and sometimes long texting sessions. As always, they were fun, intellectually stimulating, hilarious, empathic. Classic Alex. As the two non-meat eaters, we always sat next to each other at Thanksgiving, and of course we never acted so weird. I look forward to seeing him ever since. He was special, and not just because he was my dog son. The tragedy of the kind of depression that Alex experienced is that sometimes the depressed person cannot take in the affirmation and love of others. My world, so many of our worlds are diminished by the loss of Alex, but I know we will never forget him. Think of the words spoken by Juliet, that third act of Romeo and Juliet. When he shall die, take him and cut him out in the stars, and he shall make the face of heaven so fine, that all the world will be love and light, and pay no worship to the dearest son.
Hi, my name is Jason. I work with Alex at a company in Boston, software development company. I just wanted to share a little bit of my memory of working with Alex, this was a company that had a really unique feeling of camaraderie and sort of a family feel, like people really were interested in each other. We had a lot of social events. And Alex really was he sort of served as a kind of glue between all the different functions of this, between 10 or 12 to at one point 25, 28 person company. He really served as a glue between everyone, and he wasn't so much someone who was so focused on his role versus other people's role versus seniority versus status versus function, or he was more interested in getting to know people as people, and was really wonderful at his curiosity and warmth and compassion and interest in people made him someone who just got to know everyone in a real kind of organic, really cool, interesting, wonderful way. And what struck me in thinking about being around him and working with him was that at one point we changed the configuration of where everyone was sitting. We had these like 3 connecting rooms with one being mostly in the center, and that it was connected to the other 2 rooms. And that room had a balcony kind of like this with offices like that. So that room was connected to every other room. And when we moved into that room, as the team grew, there was a lot of discussion about who sat where and how we were going to configure it. And I don't know how it all went down, but somehow he ended up smack in the middle of that middle room, which made him kind of, visibly and sort of, in an energy kind of like connected to everyone, most centrally. On one of those big old bouncy balls that people sit on, so for good posture, he had, he one of those, and it was just so fitting as I think back symbolically to have him right in the center, kind of tying so much of together about what the company was about, which was a really warm and friendly and caring and intelligent and inspired place to be. So, I miss that.
My name is Catherine. I met Alex when we were in high school, just freshman year. And we had hung out that weekend with some friends, and that's when I had met him. So I was very surprised to see him in my gym class the next Monday. So I was so excited that he was in my gym class because he was hilarious. So I went up to him, and I tapped him on the shoulder, and I said, "Hi, Alex." And he turned around wide-eyed and surprised without missing a beat. He was like, "Hey, Esmeralda?" And I was so taken back. I was like, "Was that the first name to come to your mind?" And he goes, "No, I love you." "What was it again?" I was like, "Pattern." He was like, "Damn, I was off." But yeah, Alex was, I can't say this enough, an exceptional human being. And I consider myself very fortunate and very blessed to have really great memories with him, to have had some very, very interesting conversations. I remember specifically one time, I was reading some text from him, and I showed it to one of my girlfriends, and she goes, "Catherine, I don't know what he means." And I laughed because I was like, I don't either. But he never failed to make me laugh, and he never failed to make me feel welcome. So my deepest condolences to everyone here. We are definitely experiencing a huge loss. And sorry.
going to read a poem that was sent by Catherine Christian. She says that she is on a trip that was planned more than a year ago. I can't tell you how sad I am not to be at this get-together to honor and remember Alex. Alex was very important to me. He was such a constant in my life since my son Matthew died. The two of them were very close friends, best buddies, and had been since they met in first grade. Whether it was trick-or-treating at Halloween, super soaker fights, throwing up on the centrifuge ride at Six Flags, building things in my backyard, birthday parties, karate, Boy Scouts, summer camp, skiing. There are so many memories with Alex in them. But most important for me, Alex was critical in helping me deal with my sorrow and grief. Hopefully I helped him too. We would have a meal and talk and watch a movie. We'd go to the Women's Inn at Pine Street Inn to serve dinner. Women loved him. We talked about Matthew, friends and dates, jobs, depression, meds, films, books, lots about books. Once or twice, he stood me up. It especially pissed me off when I got tickets to hear Bernie Sanders, because he really liked Bernie. But now I understand there were other things going on. I miss our times together so much. There are a couple of other people who very much wished that they could be here today and were not able to, and I want to mention their names. Thank to Marianne Lindholm. These are Hume's Swedish uncle and aunt. Kathy Durkin and Franny Tisch. I want to thank you all for coming and for speaking, and I know we could have memories that would go for the rest of the day, the rest of the weekend. Alex was just that kind of person. Everybody has made that so clear. So, why don't we now adjourn? I guess would be the word. And there will be a buffet. The food will be in here. There are tables to stand at, tables to sit at, and other tables to sit at over here. And I know we will all talk a bit more about Alex and remember him, and that is as it should be. Thank you.